What's up? So we are going to get ready together today. I was just having some thoughts and the dogs just quit barking. So lucky me, it was like the perfect window. Sometimes the mail lady, so our mailbox is like, I don't know, a mile up the drive. And if there's a package or something, she has to bring it to the door. The dogs do not think that's funny. So anyway, if you're popping on, say hello. I hope I can see your comments. So I wanted to share something with you because, I think it's real cute and everything when you hear people talk about, the journey never ends or like the work never stops and whatever, right? As far as like personal development goes and like self-awareness and mindfulness and all that stuff. I mean, that's a very real truth, right? Like very real factor. And so one of the things that I find to be so interesting about that is like, that feels very daunting, right? When someone says that, people are like, hey, good morning, Dan. When people say that, they're very much like, oh my God, well, that's a lot of work. Like, do I really want to do that? Even if it's subconsciously that they're thinking that, right? So something that I wanted to share as a really great example as to why it's important that we continue the work that we do is because like when we don't, little things that we notice or things that we've cultivated will go unnoticed and end up growing back into something that has really deep roots that then you have to go and, excavate again. And like the whole goal is to, preferably not have to do that as often as we maybe did at the beginning, right? So something I realized that, I've talked to you guys a little bit about how my audience has shifted, or shall I say like my desire for my audience has shifted. And there was just like, I've been paying a lot of attention and doing a lot of specific work on cultivating just as many female people involved in interacting as I have male. And because it can be very apparent to me that there's a large group of men in my space on Instagram specifically and on my business profile that are like just here for the pictures, right? Well, I had a friend say to me a while ago, a comment that I was pretty frustrated to recognize that it actually stuck and somehow then altered the way that I was showing up or things I was potentially worrying about that I really shouldn't be worrying about, right? So, and what's sucky is, first of all, here's a forewarning. So like, we like to believe that people who love us and care about us or say that they love us and care about us would never say something snarky, right? Or never have an ill intent. And we tend to learn things about people and then expect that from them. For example, if you, in this particular case, like this person very much so preaches to be all about, being an individual and owning who you are and, not being fake, blah, 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 of integrity, all of these things, which is, my jam, right? So when somebody that is claiming that to be true says something to you that's not of integrity, or that really is the exact opposite of like, basically in a way, there's like this female rights thingy that kind of goes on in this conversation sometimes where, women should do whatever women want and not be judgmental of each other and yada, yada, right? Supporting women supporting women. Huge believer of this, right? In this conversation, I was kind of like, because this person has like a good amount of knowledge like I do as far as branding and marketing goes. So I said, I've noticed this thing with my audience, like I'm really wanting to increase the number of women that I have in my audience and blah, 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 blah. I was just kind of talking with her about it. And the response that I received made me feel pretty icky in the moment, but like I didn't realize, whoops, sorry, that's really loud. I didn't realize that I digested it the way that I did. Hence why doing the work all the time is so important, right? I did not recognize that I digested it the way that I did because just recently I realized that there's a couple of things that I do that feel very normal to me that I have not been doing as much of. And here's what the comment was. Well, maybe women are intimidated by the type of photos that you post, especially on Instagram, right? You guys know that. I mean, I know it definitely is a weird thing to some of my family, to some of other people, blah, blah, blah. But like, that's who I am. Like, I am all of these things. I am this badass business owner and marketing person and manager. And this woman, you know, I can be both of these things at the same time. I don't need to be wearing a business suit and, you know, like necklines up to here to be respected and be who I am. Because I've never had to do that. Even when I was working in a male dominated industry, like that's not what I like, refused to do that. So anyway, her comment was, maybe the photos that you post are turning off your ideal client. They're turning off women. It's pushing women. It's too intimidating and it's pushing women away. In the moment, my gut reaction was, well, then those aren't the kinds of women that I want to work with, right? Very true statement. So then, you know, I go about life, and somewhere along the fucking way, I started to tone down what I was posting, how I was posting it, and how I was showing up. Yes, you heard me correctly say I started to tone it down. So what's funny is, in a world where women are trying to say to other women, don't let anybody tell you to tone it down, here is a woman who claims that, telling me to tone it down, to not be who the fuck I really am, right? So a couple days ago, I was like, this is part of what doesn't feel good to me. Now I had been having this weird thought of like, if I post the pictures and the type of content that is normal to me, like that is not me trying, that is who I fucking am. So if I am not sharing that all of the time for fear that it's going to attract a bunch of dudes who are like, you're so beautiful all the time, like, then that is not me being authentic, right? Like, I don't want that type of attention. That's not what I'm going for. But like, for me to tone down anything for fear that a woman won't read my content and won't work with me, like, is the exact freaking opposite of my entire, what I'm, trying to accomplish here, right? And so what I realized was a few things. One, I'm just going to delete all these dudes that's all they have to say. Like, they're getting deleted, they're getting blocked. Like, we're not playing this game anymore. I don't really care about the followers. I don't give a fuck, right? So we're doing that. We used to leave them because it gives you more reach, and that's cool, but we're turning that down because I don't give a crap anymore. Second of all, I sat there and thought about it, and I was like, if I don't post those kinds of pictures and I don't be myself all the time in every single thing, like fully, then what happens when I get on a video chat with one of these female clients who's intimidated by my appearance or thinks there's something wrong with it? Guess what? That's not going to go really well, because this is who I freaking am all of the time. Like, literally. And I'm not going to be something else, right? So like, even if we're not being as loud about it in the social media content, like, you still get on, live with me, and it's the same. I mean, this is what it is, right? And so it's like, dude, what a fucking joke. And I was so mad, but I was realizing that, like, without the daily, tilling of the land, right? And like turning over the things, without that, this thing could have gone deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper rooted without me even realizing that it was happening for a long time. Like, we could have gone really long down the rabbit hole, because it's normal. It's normal for us to take advice from people, even if we don't realize that we're taking their advice. Like, it's very normal for us to say things like, ask those questions of someone that we care about, who we think has our best interest in mind. And then that stuff gets rooted, right? And then we wind up in these spots where we're like, well, this is stupid. This is the exact opposite of what I was trying to accomplish. What the fuck, right? And so I definitely find it to be really interesting, because I'm like, this is who I am all of the time. And I am a firm believer, and I preach about this all the time, that if you have to manufacture a thing about how you're showing up online or in your business or in your life as the type of person that you're wanting to be, if you have to manufacture that, it's ultimately unsustainable. Like, you absolutely cannot sustain that. If you're pretending to be something that you're not, like, good luck, right? Good luck in doing that long term. And so it's not that I've not been being myself. It's not that I've been pretending to be somebody that I'm not. That's definitely not the case. But I certainly have, friends, toned it down. I have certainly toned it down. And I am pissed off about that, to be honest. Nobody's fault but my own, obviously. It's not to blame of the girl who said it. It's to blame of me because I know better, right? And that's just the truth. And, you know, there's all these stories and scenarios. And here's what I want you to know. There'll always be stories and scenarios. Like, I had all the stories of people ask me these questions. And what I didn't realize was, while, like, my immediate external response feels really well, the difference is that the actual, what was being really embodied was different. And so that embodiment is really where is very important, right? So that embodiment is happening under the surface and we don't always realize it's happening. So by me saying, you know, things like, people always ask me, like, how do you work with male clients and their wives are okay with it? And I'm like, well, again, like, that's not my problem. That's really an irrelevant issue, because typically the kind of men whose wives would not be okay with them having a female coach won't even message me. So, like, that relationship would never even come, you know, be presented. So it's never been a problem. And if it is, like, it's not, that has nothing to do with me, right? So I'm not going to mask myself or, again, tone it down and put on a jacket because somebody somewhere's wife might not want them to work with me if I have boobs, you know, or whatever. It's like, that's not the way the world works, nor do I care to have that be anything that I have to worry about or deal with, right? And so I find it to be just an interesting moment that I was, like, annoyed because, of course, like, we think we deal with things all the way, and then sometimes there's just other layers, or, like, in this case, like I said, we don't realize that we are taking into consideration something that someone said that was really not in our best interest and that was really not meant for us, right? Like, that was a rude ass thing to say, quite honestly. It was the complete opposite of what would have been good advice. And I don't even know that I was asking for advice. That's the other thing. Putting on eyeliner while talking is a skill. But anyway, like, I don't even think I was asking for advice. And so that's something to keep in mind too. Like, if you are just sharing with someone and you're not asking for advice, like, it is very okay for you to say things like, I just was looking for you to listen. Because sometimes even if you don't want to hear the advice, you still digest it. And that's frustrating, but it's also human nature. So cultivating yourself regularly and checking in regularly when you start to feel things that don't feel right, or you catch yourself doing something very different than you maybe used to, or that felt really natural to you before, sometimes that's a good thing, right? A lot of times that's a good thing, but sometimes it's not. So this is my message to you, to pay attention to that. And also, like, to any women that are listening, or any men that are listening that might advise women of anything, like, fuck you if you tell someone to be less of who they fucking are. Truth. And that's just all I have to say about that. Like, there's really no other way to put that. Because the truth of the matter is if you have a problem, like, that person is not yours. That person might not be for you. And it is not your place ever to tell somebody who they are or how they can and cannot be. It is definitely, if you're advising someone, you can advise them of doing things that feel good to them, doing things that feel in alignment for them. But who are you to tell them what's in alignment for them and what isn't? You're not. It's not your job. You don't know. You may think you know, but you don't know. And if you get the urge to tell people things like that, you need to do your own work, my friend. You need to do your own work. Because I don't think the strategy should ever be, you need to be less. You should tone down, blah, blah, blah. That's not a strategy. In my opinion, that sounds like jealousy to me. I'm going to try to wear a headband today, you guys. I haven't worn a headband in a million years, since I was like a child, probably. Not really, that's not true. Ugh. I put these baskets in this drawer, you guys. This isn't going to work. And they don't fit really, so I squished them in and I'm paying for it now. Because now they won't come out. Anyways, so that is my message for you. And that is the deal. Because you know what? I have to deal with that now. Because now there's this fear in my tummy sometimes that this is wrong and I'm missing something and that I'm not going to be seen by doing this and all of that shit, right? So that is a deal where we have to recognize that stuff happens, there's nothing wrong with you for it happening, but you're allowed to say, nope, not anymore. I will not deal with that. I will not listen to what I know isn't right for me, you know? So that is the whole ordeal. Is number one, please do not tell people who they should or shouldn't be. That is not your job. Number two, quit. I feel like, here's the deal. Getting advice outside of yourself is hard because most of the time you already know what you need to do. Most of the time you already know what you need to do if you choose to tap in, right? And so that would be my suggestion. Having a coach, I don't know what other people do anymore because I don't work with people like that anymore, but like the way that I work with my coach and, you know, is that she will never tell me what I should or shouldn't do. She will never tell me who I am or am not. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't answer questions directly a lot of times, which at the beginning took me a while to get used to. But like, that's what a good coach does. Like, we ask you questions back, right? Like, unless it's something technical, like how do I set up an account or whatever. But that's the plan. I mean, that's the way that it works, right? Like, it truly is not someone else's job. That's because if you're looking outside of yourself, you're looking for outside validation, which is not a thing to get used to. Well, it's a thing that we all do already, but it's definitely like something that we want to stop doing, is to stop looking for outside validation as much as we can. That's definitely a goal I think that everybody should have, and a lot of people do, whether they realize it or not, because the more that you can become sovereign enough and have enough belief in yourself to be able to answer your own questions, right, the better off you will be. Do we like this? Do we feel like we like this headband? It's definitely weird for me. I don't wear shit like this very often, but I think I might dig it. Anyways, my hair is just really dirty, and I ordered these headbands, and here we are. So, anyways, that was a lot of things. I rambled a bit. It is what it is. I hope if you watch this and you think that it was helpful, that you will give it a thumbs up. I hope that if you, I hope that me doing all of this shit isn't distracting to you, like while we're on the phone or while I'm trying to have a conversation of depth with you. But if it is, I'm sorry. So I hope that this was helpful. Again, as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you think anyone else needs to hear it, give it a share. Did I just melt that? I did. I just melted that plastic thing with my curling iron, you guys. Go me. Anyway, here we are. I think you should tuck your ears into this, right? You don't want your ears popping out. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. But we're going with it. Happy day. Have a good rest of your day wherever you are. Thanks for being here.